Welcome to Critical DMG, a podcast about two best friends who might have grown up but never grew out of their love for the Game Boy. We will be playing and reviewing every North American title released on Nintendo's original handheld console. This is episode 26. I'm Tony, and I am ready to tell you this game is kid-tested and mother-approved.
And I'm Jeff, and today we're going to be talking about kicks. Warning, there is a good chance I will probably call it quicks at some point throughout the episode, but I think officially here in the US it is kicks, so that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, it could be kicks. In the Japanese version, they do call it kuix, so kicks, quicks. I think it's all fair game, but I pronounce it like the breakfast cereal.
But yeah, we're talking about QIX, kicks, and Tony. I think from your intro I know, but would you recommend this game?
I would, actually, yeah.
Okay. I'm kind of on the fence on it. I would probably say no, but I don't think it would take a whole lot to convince me for yes.
Sure.
But what did, I guess, Nintendo or Taito say on the back of the box?
Oh boy, I might have trouble getting through this one. They are definitely going for tongue twister territory in this one, so please forgive me as I attempt to my best working through this. Kicks. Twisting picks with clever tricks. That's the challenge of kicks. Kicks. It's sneaky. It's snaky. It's an unpredictable energy field. It rotates, stretches, shortens, and changes directions in a flash. Kicks tries to catch your diamond cursor before you complete a box. Once the box is complete, you've taken over that part of the screen. But watch the moving sparks. If they catch you, it'll be over in an instant. When you claim 75% or more of the screen, you win the round. Each level is more difficult with more sparks to dodge and 2 kickses to challenge you. Kicks is for kids and adults too. See, look, I even beat them to my own bit on the back of the box.
Expertly done, expertly done. So, released in May of 1990, published by Nintendo, but it was a pretty faithful port of Taito's arcade Kicks game from 1981. Mm-hmm. Tony, do you have more background on it?
So, an interesting little background tidbit here is that we have actually seen the developers previously and not that long ago. Did you see who was responsible for developing?
Yeah. I'm looking at the list now, so I guess that's a little bit of a lie, but
No, go ahead.
Minakuchi?
Yeah, Minakuchi Engineering are responsible for the development, I guess the porting, rather, of this game, and they also did Solar Striker not that long ago, which I also really liked, so good on them. That's 2 for 2.
Yeah, pretty good track record, even though I'm, again, kind of on the fence on this one.
We'll have to wait till we get to the Mega Man games.
Oh, I'm excited for those. Anything else about kind of the background, or do you want to jump into the mechanics of this one?
This one is definitely, you know it if you see it. Kicks has been around for quite a while. Like, it's a very early arcade game. I think it was like 81 or something that the original arcade version of this came around. So
correct. Like
I said, you would know it if you saw it. It kind of stands apart as far as games like of the arcade era go. So
yeah, and I saw that it kind of spawned a lot of offshoots or clones of various degrees. So
oh yes. We will not talk about most of those here, though.
Definitely iconic in its own way.
Yes, but I don't think that I have too much else on the background here. I do want to get into the gameplay.
All right, let's get into the mechanics. So, I'm going to call this an action puzzle game. Maybe it's just a puzzle game, but I'm going to say it's action-y. So, action puzzle game. The goal is to block off a certain percentage of the play area without getting hit by the kicks or the sparks, and ultimately is to get a high score. Controls, pretty easy. D-pad moves you around on the line that you're on, and A will draw a line at high speed, and B will draw a line at low speed. And we'll kind of get into what those different things mean. But Tony, how was your gameplay? How far did you get? What level? High score? How long did you play? All of that fun stuff.
Okay, so I didn't really make it super far in this one. I had kind of forgotten just how difficult this game is. And so I think my highest score capped out somewhere right around like 60 something thousand. So definitely not very high. I only made it to probably the third or fourth level, something like that.
Okay.
I tried a bunch of different strategies that I thought might do it, but I think maybe I was trying to take bigger risks than I really ought to. And it just kept burying me every time.
That's fair.
So how about you? Did you have a similar experience?
Yes. So I only got to about 45,000.
Okay.
So I believe you would have seen the first ending.
I did. We will get into that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Without getting too far ahead of ourselves, there are various endings depending on what score you get. And again, the kind of goal of the game is to get as high of a score as possible.
Yep.
With completing each level. Yeah, I think I also got to maybe level 3 or 4, but only got about 45,000 points. And I assume a lot of that is due to how you actually score in the game.
Yes.
So going back to drawing a fast line versus a slow line, if you draw a slow line, obviously your little, I guess, diamond.
I think the official word for it is cursor.
Marker.
Marker. There you go. Yeah, marker.
Yeah, so your marker is moving slower, and when you finish that area, you will get twice the points. And the whole thing of the game is you have the kicks kind of jumping around. It's a series of lines on the screen, and it's kind of moving around erratically. And if it catches you as you're drawing a line, and by catch you, I mean either hit the marker or hit the line that you're drawing, it will take a life away. So you kind of have to be a little careful with how big of an area you're trying to block off, because the kicks can turn around pretty much on a dime and shoot across back towards you. And if you're too far away, you can't complete your area and you'll lose a life.
And you will swear that the kicks is sentient or something. I know that it's random. I understand that its programming is designed for it to not like necessarily track you or make a beeline for you just because you're like extending yourself out or something like that. But wow, does it sure not feel that way sometimes? There are some times where you will be on the complete opposite end of the screen, and as soon as you start to branch out and draw your line, it's like the kicks, it just zeroes in on that movement and makes a rush right for you. And
yeah,
I get it. I know that it's just like happenstance, that it, it's not actually coming after you. It's just like the random programming of where it was going to go sent it in your direction. But man, it feels way more vindictive than that.
Yeah, there are times when it feels extremely dumb. And I guess that's, like you said, kind of the randomness of it. Yeah. There are times where you feel like you can block off 60% of the screen and it's just staying in a little corner in one area, not doing anything. And then, yeah, there are times where it has just been doing that for a bit. And then you start to draw a line and it's just immediately, bam, right at you. And I found that maybe a little bit frustrating, but also I got it. I understand that that's the game and part of the difficulty of the game. But there were definitely some times, exactly like you said, that it felt like it was just tricking you and out to get you.
Yeah, this might be our first horror game, actually.
Jump scares for sure.
Yeah, exactly. The tension. So I thought, and this goes back to what I was saying about taking probably bigger risks than I should have been. Mm-hmm. I thought, and I don't know why I thought this, because I've played kicks in lots of different iterations on the arcade. I've played this game before. Like this was not the first time I had played this version of kicks, just full disclosure. I'm a big Kicks fan. I like this game, and I like seeing the mechanics of this game implemented elsewhere. So I don't know why I carried this knowledge with me, this like mistaken knowledge that apparently in my head. But for some reason, I thought that if you made bigger boxes at once, you got more points.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that that's true. I think that it's just a per pixel, like, amount of points that you get, and it's multiplied by whether you're going fast or whether you're going slow. I don't think that the size of the box really matters. And the reason that I think that is I was watching somebody else play this game, like, well after I had already played it and made the quiz and everything else. I just wanted to see if other people had the same kind of difficulty with it that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that this player was making their boxes was very, very incrementally, like almost like little loops, like over and over, extending out from each other like a brush stroke that you're just reconnecting in on itself, and doing that over and over to try and like segment as much of the play area as possible without the kicks like being in their way.
Yeah.
And then after they had made it so that the kicks was basically boxed in and they could make their final push to like take out a large chunk of the screen at one time, they would do that final move with a slow move so that they got the maximum amount of points for it. And I never would have thought of that.
I have seen both those that, yeah, depending if you draw a bigger box, you get a higher score. I've also seen what you also said of it depends on the number of pixels. I think the biggest consensus is it's based on the number of pixels.
Right.
Except for your last box.
Huh.
You start the game trying to get 75% of the screen cleared.
Right.
If you get 76%, you get a bonus at the end.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, you get a 1x bonus. If you get 77%, you get a 2x bonus. You know, if you get 80%, you get a 5x bonus. So the last box, that's kind of where I think it matters to get it larger than you need to as far as the score is concerned.
Sure.
Also, yeah, if you do a slow line, you're going to get twice the number of pixels, or you're going to get twice the score for the number of pixels.
Right.
So if you use a fast line to block off kind of small sections to get a slow line to block off most of it, then yeah, you're going to get twice the score for that. A little unclear, and the game or the manual doesn't really explain this.
Right.
It, I think, is more up to people who have made guides and things like that have shown that.
Also, you have a timer. So if you don't move fast enough, then there are more sparks that show up. And not only that, but the ones that are there get bigger and faster, and they actually start to target you instead of just like going around the screen neutrally. So like, you can't just take forever. You have to keep moving. And even when you're drawing new boxes, you have to keep moving, because if you sit in one spot for too long, a fuse shows up and starts to follow you on your line, and I'm pretty sure they're faster than you.
Did you ever die to a spark? I'm curious about that.
Oh, I died to everything. I took hits from every enemy. The kicks got me plenty of times. The sparks got me not too often, but there was definitely times where the bar would have gone down enough that there's like 4 or 6 of them all on the screen at the same time, and they're moving really fast, and they start to close in on you from like both sides of your line that you're on. So you don't have any choice but to branch out. So I bit it on those a couple times. The fuse, I didn't really have even show up a whole lot, just because I was pretty much always moving when I was making a line. Like I might have sat in the same place before I started making a line, but once I was actively making a line, I pretty much tried to complete it as fast as possible, because it does not take long for that fuse to show up like right behind you.
Yeah, the fuse, is an interesting mechanic. So yeah, if you draw a line and then you just sit kind of out in nowhere, it will eventually come and blow you up. I think part of that is a way to combat if you somehow draw yourself into a kind of a lock to where you can't move. That is a way to kind of reset without having to wait for the kicks to get you. But yeah, it's a bit of an interesting mechanic. I only died to it once when I actively tried to see what it did. Yeah, the sparks, typically I was beating the levels quick enough that the sparks meter didn't run down too many times.
Yeah, I guess I never really thought of that, because those enemies acting as like a way to kind of reset you if you get stuck or whatever. I never really thought of it like that, because you can't move backwards. Like once you start on a line, you can't go backwards. And I guess I never really even tried to. It just like didn't make sense to me to try to like retract the line that you had already drawn or whatever. So
yeah,
I never even considered like you might get stuck or something like that. But yeah, I can see that, because they do go away as soon as you finish. Like the fuses, as soon as you finish a line or whatever, they disappear. It's just a matter of like, they're really fast. So if it shows up, like you're going to have a hard time getting away from it, even if you are already drawing a fast line.
Yeah. The only reason I think thought of that is I was watching a speed run, which the speed run goes up to level 10, at least the ones I was seeing, and it's about 4 minutes to get to level 10, which is extremely quick.
I was going to say, like, I was wondering what the category was because this is just a score chaser game. So like, do you set it at a score, like fastest to 300,000 points or whatever, or is it to a level? So it's interesting to know that it goes to level 10.
Yeah. And it seemed like the meta was similar to what you said, where you draw kind of long, thin areas,
right,
and use those to kind of try and trap the kicks in one area and then quickly get the majority of the board cleared, because the area that it counts is the area that the kicks isn't in. So if you can kind of get it in one corner, you can get 70-80% of the board cleared almost immediately. So that was kind of the strategy that they used. And then once they got to a level 11, they drew kind of like a little corkscrew thing, like a little spiral inward.
I saw that as well, yeah.
And I think that is where it kind of locks you, because once you get in that spiral, you can't really come back out of it. I think they just did that for fun, but that's when I first saw the fuse, and yeah, that's why I tried it, and kind of what gave me the idea of, I guess it's there for if you get stuck.
Interesting. I don't think I have anything else for the mechanics, do you?
There are some stages that'll have 2 kicks.
Right.
It's not much different. If you end up splitting them on either side of the line, the stage will just end. You won't get any bonus points or anything like that. It will give you bonus multipliers, I think, for the next stages, but
yeah,
it's essentially the same. You just have 2 kicks, and they kind of come and go. As the stages go on, the amount you need to fill either increases or speed increases. So it does get more difficult as you increase stages, but what we've talked about is kind of the game.
Yeah, it's very simple. Like, this is definitely one of those kinds of arcade games that you would have to like master. You know what I mean? Like, very simple approach, very easy to understand. It's literally just the couple buttons and moving around as far as mechanics go, like movement stuff and everything, what you're doing. But to actually understand like the strategies and things like that, and how to best navigate around the different types of enemies and stuff, like, yeah, if you were trying to go for a high score and you weren't just trying to, like beat a couple levels or something, you really wanted to go to where the game does get difficult, or you really wanted to set a high score, you would have to really like come to grips with how to get the most out of the limited playfield and how best to deal with whether or not to split the kicks and stuff. So I think there's a lot here mechanically, even though it is very simple.
Agreed.
But even saying that, though, it's like, okay, there's not really a whole lot else to talk about it.
I agree with that. So I think with that, after this quick ad break, we'll get into the creative discussion.
Ad break.
All right, Tony, let's try to get this in one take. Maybe stay to the script this time? You're live in 3, 2...
A horrible global phenomenon is being reported in the modern era. Children who don't know what a Game Boy is.
I don't think it's that serious.
If you or anyone you know has children suffering from a chronic lack of retro gaming, we recommend subscribing to the Critical DMG podcast. We're experts on the Game Boy.
I'm absolutely not.
And we here at Critical DMG will ensure that everyone knows about the Game Boy, whether they're young or old, pro or noob.
Does anyone say noob anymore?
So don't wait. Share this podcast with your friends and loved ones that have kids, your coworkers, their kids, your board game group's kids. Spread the word. Play it out the windows of your car in the elementary school drop-off lane.
Please don't do that last one.
With your help, we can work to undo the damages of time and make everybody appreciate the Game Boy. Thank you.
All right, yeah, that last part's pretty good.
You know, the original Game Boy might not have been internet connected, but we sure are. So if you'd like to reach out to us, you could find us on Blue Sky at criticaldmgpod.bsky.social, or you could email us at criticaldmgpod@gmail.com, and either of those will get to us faster than you would expect for people who are stuck on tech from the 1990s. And we're back. There isn't really a lot of music in this game.
No, there isn't.
I think that's just our de facto how we start out. I think I'm solidifying that in the new year is I'm just going to start with the music and sound.
Well, it's one of the first things you notice when you boot up the game.
Exactly. The title screen and the music are the first things you notice, so it's like the first thing we talk about. And there is music here. It's not a lot. Mostly it's just jingles. It's not like actual background music. It's just like transitional stuff. And some of it's cute, but it's not anything to write home about. And the music that's in the game, like in the actual game, is atrocious.
Yeah, so I find it funny. I have nothing to write home about written in my notes.
Same brain.
Yeah, I think the title music, it kind of has a little bit of like a futuristic-y or techy vibe. So I think it fits, but it's fine. Yeah, there's nothing really there. And then in the game, you don't have music, you have kind of sound effects, if you will. And I really can't tell if I like them or hate them, because I think they fit, but they're also kind of annoying. So
no, I don't like them. Like, flat out. I found out that the only cheat code for this game is just to turn the sound off.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
Which is just like amazing, because boy howdy does it need to go off. Like, it's just this droning that like comes in and out, and mixed with the honestly kind of aggravating sound effects in the rest of the game, like the way that the plinking and like buzzing of you moving around the screen and the enemies like bumping into you and stuff. I mean, it sounds like an arcade game. It sounds like exactly what it's supposed to be, you know? Like, it sounds 100% like a port of a game from the arcade back in the early 1980s. Does that mean that it sounds good? No, I don't think so, but it sounds like what it's supposed to sound like.
Well, and I think that is where my hang up is it sounds like I expect it to sound.
Right.
And I have to give it credit for that.
Sure.
But yeah, I agree with you. It was kind of annoying. And I do find it really funny that Taito or Nintendo, one of the two, decided, you know what, we should really put in a way to turn this off. Don't know why they didn't just make it a menu option. And
I was just going to say the same thing. I was just going to say, like, why couldn't it have just been a menu? Like, 1-player game, 2-player game, music off.
yeah, because we've seen that multiple times. So I don't know why that was how they decided to do it, but I did find that to be a little humorous.
Didn't want to make the sound designer feel bad. They put it in at the last minute. It was like, listen, the music is not great. Just put in a cheat code.
Mm-hmm. The code you saw was you hold left as you push start on the title screen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So not the hardest cheat code, but also, yeah, just bizarre that that's the route that they went.
I'm sure it was in like a Nintendo Power or something back in the day.
Yeah, and unfortunately, usually I love to ask, what your favorite sprite was, all of that. There weren't really sprites. There weren't really...
Okay, you are right that there isn't really anything to be like, what was your favorite whatever, because they don't, they're not like little guys, they're not goobers running around, whatever. But I think the kicks does look really cool here on the Game Boy. We haven't seen anything that's moved with the fluidity of the kicks pretty much at all, unless you count like a tennis ball or something, like for what the kicks is, the way that it moves around and the way that it like twists in on itself, and when it, I guess you could call it like a dash, when it's like going really, really fast from one end of the screen to the next, and you can see that it like stretches. So all of the line segments become much, much farther apart, and then it rebounds on itself once it like loops back around, and it almost looks just like a big tangled black mass. And it looks really interesting. It's got a very like pen and paper kind of a thing going on in my mind,
Yeah, and just to be clear, what the kicks actually is maybe like 8 or 10 lines that move around kind of in a trail.
Yeah.
And they expand and get smaller. So sometimes they're quite short lines. Sometimes they're quite long lines. And then the spaces between them can kind of compress and expand to show kind of how fast it's going. And then they twist and all of that. Very, very simplistic, right? You're talking about, we'll say 8 lines that are moving around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. They do a good job of representing that movement, making that movement feel fluid, even though it is irregular, and also making it cohesive. At no point does it feel like it's different segments that are moving around.
No.
It feels like a cohesive thing, even though, yeah, it's just a bunch of mostly parallel lines. They're not actually parallel, but they don't like intersect or anything really, unless they're rebounding or something like that. So yeah, I'll agree with that. They do a really good job of making the kicks move. And yeah, I almost immediately felt like it was kind of like a futuristic, swarmy, I don't know, like electricity maybe thing, or, some computer virus is kind of like the kind of vibe I was getting from it. So
yeah,
impressive to convey that through just a couple of lines.
And all of the rest of the stuff here, it's all like that. Your marker is literally just like a crosshair, and the kicks is lines, and the sparks are just
like random pixels.
Yeah. The fuse literally just kind of looks like a lit fuse going off, and that's it. There's nothing else. And one of the big things that a lot of the clones of kicks will do is just change that. They change it so that they usually keep the kicks. They usually keep that enemy and that design because, like namesakes sort of thing. But a lot of times they'll add other stuff to make it, more visually appealing and have other things going on screen other than these lines or whatever. But here on the Game Boy, in this like very stripped down, as genuine a port as it can really get, I think that it does exactly what it needs to do. The fact that you can pick up the game, play it on and off, for high score reasons or level reasons, whatever. And everything looks the way it's supposed to and is readable, even though there isn't really a whole lot here.
I would agree with that.
We've had other games before that have felt empty or looked empty, and it made them feel like there was nothing going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really get that here. It doesn't feel that way, even though there is literally very, very few things that are different or exciting or whatever while you're playing the game, and everything is just solid colors apart from the patterning when you do a slow block, which I do like. I'm glad that they went with a pattern instead of just a darker color.
Yeah.
There's very little here, but it never feels empty. It never feels not alive in that way.
Well, and I think when it is empty, it's empty by design, right? Because you're trying to fill in the empty space. So
right.
It is a feature, not a bug in this case. You know, it's like that is the game.
Exactly.
Outside of the game, and we kind of alluded to this earlier, there are multiple endings. So you had mentioned you had gotten over 50,000 points.
I did.
So you got to see Mario in a little sombrero.
I did.
Yeah, there are multiple of those depending on, you know, what score you get, all the way up to if you get 500,000 points, you get to see Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Toad's kind of congratulations screen. So I guess maybe that's like quote unquote winning, but
I'm going to be the one to say they are not super great. The Beefeater one, sure. The Spanish Bullfighter one, the Mexico Mario, the India Mario, and the Africa Mario, oof.
Yeah.
First of all, Africa is a continent, not a country. Second of all, it is definitely offensive. Like, it is definitely just Mario in blackface with, like, random shield and spear and an elephant in the background. Mario, my guy, get some better costumes, please.
Yeah.
The fact that they are bracketed by your points, I don't know how I feel about that, because I know that the high score to get the, like, ensemble one that you were just talking about with, like, everybody all together, I think is what, like, 500,000 points?
Yeah, exactly. 500,000.
Yeah, that seems obscene to me. Like, I'm sure it's probably not that bad, but I don't know that I could ever get that far.
Well, and it also puts you in a weird space that if you want to see all of them, you almost have to throw runs. You know, if you're on a really good run, but say you haven't seen the 300,000 one and you're about to cross 350, then you almost have to, like throw the run to be able to see that ending, which maybe is fine if that's, you know, the whole point of the game is to get scores and all of that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's fine. And I really don't know how they would fix that. I don't know if you got...
Yes, you do. We've already seen a better option of this before. They could have just made it so that after you, like, finished a level, you saw the scene. Or if you made it to that number of points, instead of making it so that you had to get a game over, they just made it so that when you finished a level, they checked your point value, and if it was over a certain amount, they played the scene.
Yeah.
They would only have to do it one time. Like, they could do it one time and then flip the switch that says, okay, don't do it again until next time. Like, that would have been so much easier.
But then that puts
making you bomb out for it is obnoxious.
Yeah, but then that puts it in kind of a weird space. If, say, you're on a level, you cross 300,000 points, it shows the scene, and then you game over at 325, you don't get the scene again, but you don't get the next scene either. So it's kind of a bit more of a...
I would have rather them just have a bespoke game over scene then.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, that way you get the progressive ones for doing a good job. And if you get a game over, you get a game over. You know, have Mario and them, like, ringing their little hats. You know, like, oh, so sad, you had such potential, whatever. Like, and then you go back to the title screen. So you still get to see all of the different reward scenes, or whatever you want to call them. And you get them for doing a good job and continuing to do a good job, rather than doing a good job and then it's like, oh, whoa, wait, I gotta see the 151,000 one. I gotta bomb out here.
Yeah, maybe that's a better way to do it. Yeah, I guess I'll agree with you on that.
It's just really strange to me to make you bomb out to see a cutscene.
100%.
You know, I just don't understand the logic behind that, I guess.
Yeah, I guess trying to give you something special when you get a high score or a higher score at the game over screen, but yeah, it produces that weird tension that is probably not great.
I mean, the disparity between the points as well, it directly relates to how you are able to see basically one of the only things that makes this like Game Boy centric in the aesthetics, because otherwise it would literally be pretty much just a straight port of the arcade game. The first scene, Mario in his little sombrero playing his guitar, is 50,000 at a minimum and 150,000 at a maximum.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of points, I feel. And if you're struggling to break out of 150,000 points and you are stuck somewhere in the 50 to 150,000 point bracket, you might think there is nothing else to see, and the only game over is this Mario playing you a sad guitar song. Like, and there's all these other ones to see, but you wouldn't even know that because you've got 100,000 points to make up before you even get to the next one. So I really would have rather it be like a bespoke game over scene, and then they either like randomize the cutscenes or something else, because it would just feel like you would never see any of the other ones.
Yeah, it's definitely a big jump, especially between the first and the second. So definitely, I think, could be missed and probably was missed by a lot of people. Exactly like you're saying, thinking there's not a whole lot more reason for me to try to get the score higher after I've already seen the one cutscene that I've seen.
Right. And if you're going after this score, you've seen the cutscene, you make the assumption that there is more cutscenes. You know, oh, it's not just this Mario, there's got to be other Marios, or maybe there's a Luigi or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, I'm going to keep trying and get a better score to try and see these other things. Well, for one, the game is going to get harder because you can only score so many points in the first handful of levels, which is going to make it more difficult for you to continue and more difficult to secure like large swaths of the stage or whatever with like slow captures to give yourself the maximum amount of points that you could. So you might not ever break out of that 150,000 threshold to see the next one. And that also kind of feels bad. So I'm glad that these are here. You know, again, problematicness of them aside, like, I'm glad that they're here. I'm glad that they did something to make it Game Boy specific,
Mm-hmm.
You know, to show Mario and Luigi and everybody else. I like that they did that, but I think the implementation is just, I don't think that they did a good job with it. I think that like there is a logic or mechanical failure of how they implemented this as the thing you see when you fail, when you fail at the game, then you get to see the new stuff. That seems so backwards to me.
Yeah. I'm happy to kind of wrap up this conversation with that. Is
yes,
good concept, poor execution in a lot of ways.
Sure. Okay, so go ahead and why don't you lead in? Would you recommend this? Have you come around, or are you solidified in your no?
Oh, I think I am. Drum roll, I guess, as I'm thinking. I think I'm pretty solidified in my, well, more solidified in my no.
Okay.
Mainly because while I think each individual level is relatively fun, and I think the gameplay of each level is pretty fun.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the goal is big number, go bigger.
Sure.
Which we've, discussed multiple times. That's not really how I enjoy.
Yeah.
And so It doesn't have anything like Tetris where there is kind of an end point. You could play endless mode in Tetris, and you could play the type B mode, I think it was, or mode B. This didn't have kind of the truncated gameplay. So I think because of that, and ultimately because, I don't really care about achieving a high score, I would probably still say no, even though I did quite enjoy the gameplay for the bit that I was playing it.
It's kind of like how you saw with the speedrunners, how in order to even make a speedrun category for this game, they just have to kind of set an arbitrary limit. Like
exactly.
First, you have to just get to level 10 because the game doesn't offer you that. There is no end or whatever. The end is when you crash, when you don't make it anymore.
Exactly.
So yeah, like literally there is nothing here other than to chase that high score. Which I will say, it is nice that they do save your scores.
Yeah.
Like, it does save your high scores here, which a lot of the other games with high score tables actually haven't saved your high scores after you shut the cartridge off, so bravo here for that. Funnily enough, I'm almost sort of coming around to high score gameplay a little bit more.
Ooh, getting converted.
But only because my 9-year-old and I can locally challenge each other. Like the idea of challenging my own score or random internet global ranking charts score or whatever, that doesn't appeal to me. But being able to see, like, in real time, my score go over my 9-year-old's or his score then beat mine or whatever else, that I can get behind, which I think is very much like, it makes sense for this kind of game, an arcade game, to make me kind of feel that way. I could see myself going to a local arcade here in town, and if they had kicks or something, trying to set a score on the machine, or at least setting a score for myself before I lost, and then telling my 9-year-old, be like, hey, I got X number score, you want to try and beat me? That appeals to me. So I don't know. We'll have to see how I'm feeling about high score stuff here in a little bit, because I think something is shifting, and it doesn't necessarily bother me as much for some things.
That's fair.
So ultimately, I would recommend this. I definitely understand why you wouldn't, and that it's not that the gameplay is bad or anything. It's just like, not for you.
Yeah.
Especially with it being a high score game and stuff. Totally valid. But I was a fan of Kicks before coming into doing this game for this show. I pretty much have to recommend it. Basically, it's one of my favorite arcade games, like arcade style puzzle games or whatever. So yes, I feel that this is worth the batteries, especially if you like these kinds of pick up and play, see how far you can get, whether you're playing for score or you are just seeing how far you can get because the difficulty ratchets up on you. Those are both valid ways to pursue playing this game.
Yeah.
And I think either of them are worth your time.
Yeah, especially if you are competing with someone. I can see that adding a level of competition or fun. But if you like those sort of things, then this is a great game. If not, I would say it's not the worst, even if you don't like those things.
I have got to get a link cable so that I can start playing some of these games with my 9-year-old.
Yeah.
But I think that makes it quiz time.
It does. Yeah, I guess speaking of high scores,
Ah.
currently I am at 77%. So not the highest of scores, but we will see if we can increase that a little bit today.
Okay. Kicks quiz. That's got a real ring to it.
Say it 5 times fast.
Oh my god, yeah. Speaking of tongue twister from earlier. Anywho, question 1. One of my favorite things about game development history are stories like how the very first arcade iteration of Kicks was made. Starting as a tech demo by a programmer named Randy Pfeiffer, his wife, Sandy, encouraged him to make a game out of the idea that was akin to something, quote, like video game Etch-a-Sketch. The game grew from there and was eventually picked up by Taito's US division, Taito America, for distribution in arcades worldwide, actually becoming one of only a handful of Taito games made by their US branch. But one of my favorite parts of this particular story is where the name Kicks actually came from. Was it A, the couple had a custom license plate that read, "Just for Kicks," that they took the name from? B, they had a child who absolutely loved the breakfast cereal Kix? C, the name is actually supposed to sound like Quicks because you have to be fast? Or D, this one is a freebie because the rest all sound like jokes?
Just for Kicks is too long to be a license plate, most likely.
It's spelled JUS, the number 4, QIX. Just for Kicks.
Where vanity license plates are, I feel like...
Yeah, oh, they absolutely were.
I'm going to go with D, even though I feel like it's not. And since you spelled the license plate, I'm thinking it's probably A now.
It's okay to change your answer from your gut sometimes, Jeff. It's okay.
Okay, because you were able to spell the license plate, I'm going to go with A.
Good, because it was A.
I knew the other two were quite likely not it. I don't feel good about that answer, but...
Too bad. It's all fine. It works for academia. I put the D answer in because they all sound like jokes. Like, they all sound like joke answers, so it wouldn't have made sense to put a joke answer for D because they all sound like that. But yeah, it's A. According to an email interview that Randy Pfeiffer gave all the way back in 2003, the name for the game was lifted right from the variant spelling of Kicks that he and his wife had on their car's custom license plate. The interviewer, Matt Sefton, has other highlights from this interview on a small piece for his blog, and they include the quote about video game Etch-a-Sketch, as well as how the light bulb moment for the game that really kind of brought everything together was actually had while the couple was relaxing in a jacuzzi with a bottle of champagne.
Ooh.
I don't know how those dots connected, but okay.
Here we are. I wonder if just for Kicks, KIX was taken, and that's why they had to use the Q.
Oh my gosh, that would be so funny. Like, dang, someone beat us to it. All right. Off to a good, if dubious, start. Question 2. A charming little re-release of this game, called Kicks Adventure, was made for the Game Boy Color right around the year 2000, and it saw a release in both PAL and JPN regions, but not here in the States. Other than the full-color treatment that you would expect from a Game Boy Color game, the core gameplay of the original is mostly intact in Kicks Adventure, so it must be something else that they changed or added that merits it being more than just a colorful deluxe upgrade. But what was it? A, the Kicks and Sparks are given more bespoke sprites with more personality. B, a new game mode is included that prioritizes capturing enemies for points. C, the game removes the need for extra lives, relying only on a timer in each level. Or D, I lied, and it's actually a wildly different game.
I'm going to hope that it's B, because I was constantly trying to box things in. So I'm going to hope that it's B.
You should. It was B.
Let's go.
Good job.
Yeah, I constantly, as I was playing, was like, what if I box them in with a fast box? What if I box them in with a slow box? Oh, okay, nothing happens. Okay.
Nothing at all. Maybe Kicks Adventure would be better for you then.
Maybe.
It includes an original mode, which is like what you would expect for Kicks, and then a battle mode, which I'm assuming is pretty similar to the 2-player mode that we have here in this one that neither of us got a chance to play. But then there's a third mode called Treasure Mode. And in Treasure Mode, you box the enemies in all over the screen. And it's not just the Kicks. There are like other enemies that are more like gooberish, you know, like just little guys jumping around or whatever. And you can box them in and they'll drop treasures behind. And the treasures you can collect, and sometimes they'll give you points. Sometimes they'll like multiply your score, or sometimes they might even spawn more enemies on the screen. I actually haven't played this one as much as I enjoy Kicks and have played other different variants of the game. I haven't played this one. I will be Probably very soon now that I know that it exists, though. We won't get to cover it for the show, though, so darn.
Darn.
Question 3. So, we covered a bit of the history of Kix a moment ago, but whatever happened to the original creators? Do Randy and Sandy Pfeiffer still make games today? Well, unfortunately not. And as far as I could find out, Randy Pfeiffer's main focus was last known to be on a totally different kind of software creation. Is it true or false that rather than more video games, Randy Pfeiffer went from working on sound technology for pinball machines to making CAD software for model train enthusiasts?
I'm gonna say true, because that is so random. If you just came up with that, I'm relatively impressed. So I'm gonna say true.
It is true. So it wasn't.
Good.
It wasn't pulled out of nowhere. Information was pretty sparse, from what I was able to gather, both from the previous interview and just different instances of Randy Pfeiffer showing up in credits for things like pinball machines and other games. Like, it was mostly just Kix, the direct sequel to Kix, which was an arcade game called Kix 2 Tournament, and then another arcade game called the Electric Yo-Yo, which I've never heard of or seen.
Interesting.
Those were pretty much it as far as video games go. After that, he started developing this CAD software, and nowadays, again, from what I was able to find in just a lot of research trying to sort of track down what this guy is up to, I guess, which, his name is attached to a company called Third Planet, Planit, like Plan It, and it's a 3D modeling software company that assists in planning railroads, using, quote, the most automated, comprehensive, and easy-to-use track planning tool ever made.
Interesting.
I saw some of the pictures of it, like, they look really cool.
Who would have thought?
He was a pretty accomplished software programmer, like, before he made Kix. So it wasn't like, a lot of, like, early devs that just kind of were, like, first getting into computers and video games at that time. It was not that kind of thing. He was already like a Silicon Valley programmer type before Kix like became a thing, as far as I was able to read. So maybe not as big of a jump from software to software, but who knew?
Who knew? Anyway, 3 for 3. So
yeah.
That's pretty good, up to 78%. So
yay!
slowly going up. If I continue with a correct streak.
Yes.
But can you remind us of our listener question from last week from Nemesis?
I can. So the question for Nemesis, for everybody at home, was about how, typical of Konami, the Gradius franchise, which Nemesis is a part of, can be seen in other things, showing up in different video games and all sorts of stuff. And the Vic Viper, the ship from Gradius, Nemesis, shows up in one thing in particular that is also a Konami product. And I wanted to know what that was. It was a card game. Jeff, I am sure you know.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! I've never played it, but I've been around enough game stores and things to see people play, and it's the only Konami card game that I know of, at least. So that's going to be what I say.
And you're also stuck with me, and I play Yu-Gi-Oh! So, yeah, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! The US version of the original Vic Viper card is just called Gradius, which, okay.
Original.
The Japanese get the much grander sounding Chojiku Sentoki Biku Baipa, which is Super Spacetime Fighter Vic Viper. And, come on, that's so much better.
It's got a little bit more merit behind it, I would say.
It makes me want to hop in the spaceship, you know? Anyway, question for Kix. So Kix has been cloned plenty of times over the years for all kinds of systems with all kinds of theming to cover over the otherwise simple aesthetics that we talked about. On the SNES specifically, though, a game came out that took the Kix gameplay and dressed it up in a really colorful anime attire, like with characters and a fantastical story and lots of stylized variants on the traditional enemy types. And the name is maybe a bit of a mouthful and is actually a Japanese pun that I am really excited to cover when we get to the answer next week. But I want to know what the title of the game is.
I have no idea.
I can't imagine you would.
I look forward to the pun next week.
It's good. I'm excited.
Thanks for listening to Critical DMG. If you would like to support us further, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/criticaldmgpod. Join us there for monthly newsletters and extra content. Otherwise, please leave a review wherever you get your podcasts, and maybe recommend us to your friends or anyone else you might think that would like the show. It really helps us out, and we appreciate it. I think that brings us to the end of Quicks, however you want to say it, for this week. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Join us next week when we dive back into licensed games, and we will cover Batman, the video game.
Oh boy. This is a Sunsoft product? This is still Sunsoft, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. This will be a good one, I hope.
We'll find out next week.
Visit the streets of Gotham next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.